The stars glimmered against the endless black of space. Commander Zexatora stood on the bridge of the Varix flagship, his 4 eyes fixed on the holographic display of the solar system ahead. The third planet glowed blue and green, a jewel among lifeless rocks. "Target confirmed," said his navigation officer. "Planet matches all colonization parameters. Atmosphere, optimal. Water, abundant. Resources, plentiful." Zexatora's mouth parts clicked in satisfaction. After 50 years of searching, the Varix Confederation had found their salvation. Their home systems were dying, stripped of resources by centuries of expansion and industry. They needed new worlds. They needed Earth. "Begin passive scans," Zexatora ordered. "Stay beyond their detection range. I want complete data on their defenses before we report to the High Council." The massive ship drifted silently near Neptune, its cloaking technology making it invisible to conventional sensors. Or so they thought. Lisa Franklin stared at her monitor in NASA's Deep Space Monitoring Station, a cup of coffee growing cold beside her keyboard. The numbers didn't make sense. The radiation patterns near Neptune showed anomalies that couldn't be explained by natural phenomena. "Alan, can you look at this?" She waved over Dr. Alan Wright, her colleague who specialized in quantum fluctuations. Alan leaned over her shoulder, his forehead wrinkling as he studied the data. "That's impossible. These readings suggest a massive energy source, but it's somehow contained. No spillover. Nothing we have could do that." Lisa nodded slowly. "Nothing we have." She picked up the secure phone on her desk and dialed a number few people at NASA knew existed. "This is Franklin. Authorization code Sierra Echo 97. We have a midnight bell situation." Across the country in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, Captain Peter Grayson stood on the bridge of the USS Arlington, watching his crew run combat drills. The aircraft carrier cut through the waves, aircraft landing and taking off in a carefully choreographed dance of military precision. His communications officer approached with a concerned look. "Sir, flash traffic from Stratcom, Priority Alpha. Your eyes only." Grayson took the encrypted tablet, scanned his fingerprint and read the message. His face remained impassive, though his heart rate doubled. "XO, you have the con. Prepare my transport. I'm needed in Washington." 6 hours later, Grayson sat at a round table 100 feet beneath the Pentagon. The room was sealed against electronic surveillance, the air scrubbed and recycled, the walls lined with lead and exotic materials developed in secret laboratories. General Diana Ross, chair of the Joint Chiefs, nodded to him as the last person entered the room. CIA Special Projects Director Kevin Murphy, a man whose existence was denied in official records. "Captain Grayson," Ross began, "what I'm about to tell you has been classified above top secret for 35 years. She pressed a button, and the center of the table opened. A holographic display showed a crashed spacecraft unlike any conventional design. In 1989, this craft crashed in the Alaskan wilderness. The pilot was dead, but the technology was intact. This was not our first contact with extraterrestrial intelligence, but it was our first acquisition of their technology." Murphy continued, "Since then we've been preparing. The public thinks we're decades behind where we actually are. The International Space Defense Coalition was formed in secret, with only top leadership of major nations aware of its existence." Grayson absorbed this information, his military training keeping his shock hidden. "And now they're here?" "Yes," Ross confirmed. "A large vessel, possibly a scout ship, is holding position near Neptune. Our quantum entanglement detectors can see through their cloaking technology. They think they're invisible, and for now, we want them to keep thinking that." On the Varix ship, Commander Zexatora reviewed the scan data with growing confidence. Earth's technology seemed primitive. Their most advanced weapons were nuclear-based. Their space presence was minimal. Their governments were divided. It would be an easy conquest. "Sir," his intelligence officer called, "we've intercepted and decoded their communications. Most are trivial. Entertainment, news, personal messages. Their military communications are encrypted but with basic algorithms we broke centuries ago." Show me their military capabilities, Zexatora ordered. The display changed to show aircraft carriers, fighter jets, tanks, and missile silos. By Varric standards, they might as well be fighting with sticks and stones. These humans have only had electricity for about 200 years, the science officer noted. They achieved spaceflight less than a century ago and have barely explored their own system. They are technological infants. Zextora's decision was made. Prepare a full report for the High Council. I'll recommend immediate invasion planning. We could begin landings within 6 Varric cycles. What Zextora couldn't know was that everything his ship was seeing had been carefully crafted. The real Earth military communications used quantum encryption unbreakable by current Varric's technology. The weapon systems they detected were showcased, intentionally, while the advanced defensive grid remained hidden. In the underground facility, Grayson was shown the truth. Project Heimdall, a network of satellites equipped with weapons based on reversed-engineered alien technology. Luna Base, a fully operational military installation on the far side of the moon. The Artemis Protocol, a defensive system capable of manipulating matter at the quantum level. For 35 years, Ross explained, we've been intercepting alien communications, learning their languages and technology. The crashed ship had a quantum entanglement communication device. Once we understood it, we could listen to their chatter across light years. We know exactly who they are, Murphy added. The Varrics Confederation. 7 species united under one banner expanding through their corner of the galaxy. Their method is always the same. Find inhabited worlds, assess resistance, conquer. If the natives are weak, negotiate if they're strong. And they think we're weak, Grayson concluded. Exactly. And we want them to keep thinking that until the moment we show them otherwise. Lisa Franklin's discovery had triggered a carefully prepared protocol. Around the world, military forces were quietly moving to predetermined positions. Civilian governments were being briefed on a need-to-know basis. The orbital defense platforms were being brought to standby alert without changing their outward appearance. Captain Grayson, you've been selected to command our first open contact vessel, Ross said. When the time comes to reveal ourselves, you'll be our representative. When will that be, General? When they make their move, we'll let them come close enough to feel confident, then we'll show them exactly what humanity is capable of. Ross's expression was grim. They set their sights on Earth thinking we're easy prey. They'll leave knowing we're the most dangerous species they've ever encountered. As the Earth prepared in secret, Commander Zexatora sent his report to the Varrics High Council, unaware that his transmission was being monitored by human intelligence officers. The message was simple. Earth was ripe for conquest, its primitive inhabitants no match for Varric's might. The response came swiftly. Prepare for the arrival of the invasion fleet. The Varrics were coming in force, confident in their victory over the unsuspecting humans. They couldn't have been more wrong. The great halls of the Varrics High Council gleamed with polished metal and glowing energy fields. 7 representatives, 1 from each species of the Confederation, sat in a semicircle facing the holographic display of Earth. Commander Zextora stood before them, his report complete. The conquest will be simple, he concluded. Their weapons are primitive. Their space presence is minimal. Their nations are divided. We estimate full control of the planet within 3 Earth months. High Counselor Drex, eldest of the Varrics leadership, leaned forward. Resources confirmed? Abundant, Zextora replied. Water, minerals, fertile land, and 7 billion potential labor units. The council members exchanged satisfied looks. This was exactly what the Confederation needed. Their home systems were nearly depleted after centuries of unchecked expansion and industry. Prepare the invasion fleet, Drex ordered. We will begin deployment immediately. Far away, on the dark side of Earth's moon, Colonel Maria Ramirez watched, the alien reconnaissance ship through advanced sensors. The Luna Base was Earth's most secret military installation, built over 20 years using technology reverse-engineered from the crashed alien ship. Movement detected, her sensor officer reported. The alien vessel is transmitting large data packets toward the outer system. Maria nodded. They're reporting back. Prepare for Phase 2. Alert the Pentagon. In the Pacific Ocean, the submarine, USS Nighthawk, cruised silently 500 feet below the surface. Captain Greg Daniels received the encrypted message and turned to his weapons officer. Prepare Artemis missile for launch. Authorization code, Broken Arrow. The officer opened a special panel and inserted his key. The captain did the same with his key on the opposite side of the console. Together they turned the keys and pressed their thumbs against the scanners. Artemis missile armed, the computer announced, awaiting final authorization. In the Pentagon War Room, General Diana Ross faced a wall of screens showing military leaders from around the world. Captain Peter Grayson stood at her side. The Variks have sent their report, she announced. According to our intercepts, they're mobilizing an invasion force. It's time to implement the warning shot protocol. The faces on the screens grew serious. This moment had been planned for decades. But now that it had arrived, the weight of the decision was enormous. All nations are in agreement, said the British Prime Minister. Proceed with the demonstration. Ross nodded to her communications officer. Send the execution code. Back on the submarine, Captain Daniels received the final authorization. Artemis, launch confirmed. Targeting coordinates set to Phobos. The missile shot from the submarine's vertical launch tube, rocketing toward the surface. Once it cleared the water, its main engines ignited, pushing it up through the atmosphere at incredible speed. Unlike conventional missiles, the Artemis didn't rely on chemical propulsion once it reached space. Instead, it used a quantum displacement drive, technology humans had developed by studying the crashed alien ship. It could cover the distance to Mars in hours rather than months. Dr. Nathan Cole watched the missile's progress from his laboratory at DARPA. As chief weapons scientist, he had led the team that developed the Artemis system. Now he monitored its performance with intense focus. Quantum field stable, he reported. All systems nominal. Time to target, 3 hours, 17 minutes. In space, the Variks invasion fleet had begun to assemble near their home system's jump point. 20 massive ships, each carrying thousands of soldiers and equipment. Commander Zexatora had been promoted to fleet commander, a reward for discovering Earth. First wave ready for departure, his second-in-command reported. We can begin transit to the Sol system within 1 cycle. Zexatora felt pride swell in his chest. This conquest would secure his place in Variks history. Prepare for jump sequence. Meanwhile, the Artemis missile approached Mars. Its target was not the planet itself, but Phobos, the larger of Mars's 2 small moons. The irregularly shaped moon was roughly 17 miles across, a potato-shaped rock orbiting the red planet. On Luna Base, Colonel Ramirez confirmed the final targeting data. Artemis in position, quantum field generators at full power, awaiting final execution command. In the Pentagon, General Ross looked at Captain Grayson. It's time to show them who they're dealing with. Send the signal. The command flashed to Luna Base, then to the Artemis missile. Its quantum generators spun up to full power, creating a field that extended to encompass Phobos. What happened next defied conventional physics. The rocky, irregular moon began to change shape. Its matter rearranged at the quantum level, atoms shifting position in a perfectly controlled pattern. Within minutes, the potato-shaped rock had been transformed into a perfect cube, each side exactly 17 miles long, with perfectly sharp edges and flat surfaces. The impossible geometric precision was unmistakable. No natural process could create such a shape. It was a calling card that screamed, advanced technology. At the same moment, Earth sent a transmission directly to the Variks reconnaissance ship. The message was in their own language, perfectly pronounced and using their formal diplomatic structures. We have observed you for some time. This demonstration represents our least destructive weapon. Withdraw immediately or face consequences. On the Variks ship, chaos erupted. Commander Zexatora's replacement, Sub-Commander Vex, stared at the cube that had once been Phobos, unable to comprehend what he was seeing. How is this possible? He demanded. Scan it again. Scans confirm, his science officer replied, voice shaking. The moon has been reshaped into a perfect geometric form. The level of precision would require energy manipulation beyond our capabilities. And the transmission? Vex asked. It was sent in high Variks using diplomatic protocols only taught in our academies. They know our language. Vex felt cold fear replace his confidence. Send emergency transmission to the fleet. All units halt deployment. Request new instructions immediately. In the Pentagon war room, the human leaders watched the alien ship's reactions through their quantum sensors. They've stopped their countdown to invasion, the intelligence officer reported. They're sending emergency signals to their fleet. Captain. Grayson looked at the image of cubic Phobos on the main screen. Will they retreat or attack? General Ross's face was grim. Either way, they know now. Earth is not defenseless, we are not prey. And if they choose war, we'll show them what humanity does to those who threaten our world. The warning shot had been fired across the galaxy. The question now was how the Variks would respond to humanity's message. The Variks High Council chamber had never been so loud. Voices shouted over one another as the 7 council members struggled to make sense of what they had witnessed. The holographic display showed Phobos, once an irregular potato-shaped moon, now a perfect cube floating in space. Impossible, shouted Councillor Mock of the Grath species, his tentacles waving in agitation. No civilization could advance from primitive rockets to matter manipulation in mere decades. High Councillor Drex slammed his fist on the table, creating instant silence. Yet they have done it. The question is not how, but what we do now. Sub-Commander. Vex's hologram flickered in the center of the room. The humans knew our language perfectly. They observed us while we thought we were hidden. They have technologies we cannot explain. Options, Drex demanded. Councillor Zith, the military strategist, stepped forward. We have 3 choices. First, we can attack with our full force. We have numbers on our side. Second, we can withdraw and find another world. Third, we can attempt diplomatic contact. The council chamber fell silent as they considered these options. Meanwhile, on Earth, the International Space Defense Coalition headquarters buzzed with activity. Located in a mountain complex below the Swiss Alps, the facility housed military, personnel from 27 nations. Lieutenant Olivia Martinez climbed into the cockpit of the Aurora Interceptor. The spacecraft looked unlike anything publicly known to exist on Earth. Built using reverse-engineered alien technology, it could travel from Earth to Mars in hours. All systems check, she reported as the simulator came to life around her. Beginning. Combat Drill 7. In the control room, Flight Director Sam Wilson watched as 12 pilots ran through the training exercise. If the Variks chose war, these pilots would be humanity's first line of defense. They're getting better, noted his assistant. Martinez completed the asteroid field run in record time. Wilson nodded. Let's hope they never have to use these skills for real. In another section of the complex, Professor Jack Simmons worked with his team of linguists and mathematicians. Wall screens displayed Variks writing and speech patterns. Their response has come in, his assistant said, handing him a tablet. They're requesting a diplomatic meeting. Jack studied the message. Interesting. They're using formal diplomatic language, but there are subtle markers of fear. They're rattled by our demonstration. He picked up a secure phone and dialed. This is Simmons. The Variks have requested talks. I recommend we accept, but choose the location carefully. In the Pentagon War Room, General Ross received the news with cautious optimism. Captain Grayson stood by her side as they discussed options with world leaders on the secure video feed. We need a neutral location, said the German Chancellor. Not Earth, where they would feel threatened, but not deep space where we would be at a disadvantage. I suggest the L5 station, Grayson offered. It's positioned at a Lagrange point between Earth and the Moon. We've been building it secretly for 15 years. General Ross nodded. The station has both human and Variks-compatible environments. It's defensible, but would also show our technological capabilities without revealing everything. The decision was made. Earth would accept the diplomatic meeting. Ambassador Eric Stone was chosen to lead Earth's delegation. A veteran diplomat, With military training, he had spent the last 5 years studying alien psychology and culture. Now he stood in his quarters at the Pentagon, reviewing files on the Variks. Their society values strength above all, he told his team during the briefing. They respect power but will exploit any perceived weakness. Our strategy is to demonstrate enough strength to deter them, without forcing them into a corner where they feel war is their only option. 2 days later, a small Variks vessel approached the L5 station. Earth allowed them to detect some defensive systems, but kept others hidden. It was a delicate balance, show enough teeth to be respected, but not enough to provoke fear. The station itself was a marvel of engineering. Rotating sections created artificial gravity. Transparent aluminum windows offered views of both Earth and the Moon. The design incorporated both human aesthetic touches and practical defensive systems. Inside the diplomatic chamber, air composition could be adjusted for different species. The room had 2 entrances, one leading to the human section, one to a specially constructed Variks-compatible environment. Ambassador Stone entered with 5 team members. They took their positions at the half-circle table and waited. Minutes later, the opposite door opened and the Variks delegation entered. High Emissary Krelvar led his team into the room. His 4 eyes scanned the humans and the chamber, assessing threats and advantages. Behind him came specialists in various fields, science, military, and culture. "Welcome to Harmony Station," Stone said in perfect high Variks. "We appreciate your willingness to engage in diplomatic discussions." Krelvar's mouth parts clicked in surprise at hearing his native language. "Your demonstration with Phobos was impressive. The High Council wishes to understand your intentions." "Our intentions are peace and security for our world," Stone replied. "Your reconnaissance suggested invasion plans. We responded with a demonstration of our defensive capabilities." "A demonstration indeed," Krelvar said. "We were unaware your species had advanced so rapidly." Stone smiled slightly. "That was by design. We have monitored galactic communications for decades. We know the Variks Confederation's methods of expansion." This revelation clearly shocked the Variks delegation. Krelvar's skin changed color slightly, a sign of distress in his species. "How is this possible? Your first radio signals reached our sensors less than a century ago. In 1989, one of your scout ships crashed on our world," Stone explained. "We recovered its communication technology. Since then, we have been listening to the stars while presenting a facade of technological limitation." Krelvar conferred briefly with his science advisor. "And the Phobos demonstration?" "One application of our quantum manipulation technology," Stone said. "We have mapped the quantum signatures of every Variks homeworld. If threatened, we can respond with weapons that could collapse your star systems into microscopic singularities." This was not entirely true. Earth's technology wasn't quite that advanced yet, but after the Phobos demonstration, the bluff was credible. The Variks delegation grew visibly uncomfortable. Their entire assessment of Earth had been wrong. What they thought was a primitive world ripe for conquest was actually a dangerous, technologically advanced civilization. "The Confederation has no desire for unnecessary conflict," Krelvar said carefully. "Perhaps we can discuss mutual interests and boundaries," Stone nodded. "That would be wise. Humanity wishes to join the galactic community peacefully, but we will defend ourselves without hesitation if threatened." As the diplomatic talks continued, news of the confrontation began spreading throughout nearby star systems. Other civilizations that had dismissed humans as insignificant now scrambled to reassess their intelligence. Earth's warning shot had not just stopped the Variks. It had announced humanity's presence to the galaxy in no uncertain terms. The species that had reshaped a moon into a perfect cube just to make a point was not to be taken lightly. News of the confrontation between humans and the Variks spread through the galaxy like ripples in a pond. Species that had never paid attention to the small blue planet suddenly focused their long-range sensors on Earth. The demonstration at Phobos had changed everything. The Andromeda Compact, a loose alliance of trading species from 14 star systems, sent observer ships to the edge of the Sol system. They maintained their distance, not wanting to trigger Earth's defenses. Their mission was simple: watch and learn about this surprising new power. Meanwhile, the reclusive Nexus consciousness, an ancient machine civilization that had remained isolated for millennia, activated dormant monitoring stations throughout the sector. The quantum signatures of Earth's weapons had caught their attention. Such technology should not have been possible for such a young species. On Earth, governments finally revealed the truth to their citizens. The existence of alien life and the secret defense programs that had been running for decades became public knowledge through careful, coordinated announcements. In Washington, D.C., thousands gathered outside the White House as the president addressed the nation and the world. "My fellow citizens of Earth," she began, her voice steady despite the historic weight of the moment. "Today we confirm what many have long suspected. We are not alone in the universe. For decades we have known about other intelligent life forms. We have prepared in secret to ensure humanity's security and independence." Reactions varied widely. Some people celebrated in the streets, excited by the possibilities of a wider universe. Others protested outside military installations, angry about the secrets kept from them. Religious leaders gathered to discuss what these revelations meant for their faiths. Stock markets fluctuated wildly as investors tried to understand the implications for the global economy. Dr. Samantha Park watched the news coverage from her office at the newly established Extraterrestrial Studies Institute. As head of xenoanthropology, she was responsible for understanding alien cultures and societies. "It's a lot for people to process," said her research partner, Dr. Ryan Johnson, who specialized in comparative technology. "Finding out about aliens and that our governments have been hiding advanced tech for decades," Samantha nodded. "And it's just the beginning. The public only knows a fraction of what's out there. The galactic community is vast and complex. They also don't fully understand how different our development path has been," Ryan added. "Most species follow predictable technological progression. They master atomic energy, then develop space travel, then achieve faster-than-light communication. We jumped ahead because of the crashed ship." Samantha turned to the wall-sized display showing data from 27 known civilizations. "And that's made us dangerous in their eyes. We're unpredictable." Their conversation was interrupted by an alert on Samantha's computer. "The Varix delegation is requesting another meeting. Something's happening." On the Varix homeworld, political upheaval spread through the Confederation. Several subject species, emboldened by humanity's stance against Varix expansion, began pushing for independence. Protests erupted on colony worlds where resources had been stripped for the benefit of the core planets. Former Commander Zex Tora, demoted after his failed reconnaissance mission, saw an opportunity. He contacted trusted officers who shared his concerns about the Confederation's leadership. Their government had lied about human capabilities, putting their entire civilization at risk. "I no longer believe our leaders are fit to guide our people," Zex Tora told his conspirators. "They are blinded by greed and the desire for conquest. They will lead us into a war we cannot win." His plan was bold and dangerous. Defect to Earth, bringing valuable intelligence about Varix vulnerabilities and the broader political landscape of the galaxy. Using a small scout ship, Zex Tora slipped away during a shift change at the orbital defense platform. By the time his absence was noticed, he had already activated the experimental jump drive, vanishing from Varix space. The L5 Harmony station detected his arrival at the edge of the solar system. Earth defense forces immediately surrounded the small vessel, weapons locked on target. "This is Lieutenant Olivia Martinez of Earth Defense. Identify yourself and state your purpose." "I am Zex Tora, former fleet commander of the Varix Confederation," he replied in careful English. "I seek asylum on Earth. I have information your people will find valuable." Martinez didn't lower her weapons. "Maintain position. Any movement will be considered hostile." Within hours, Zex Tora found himself in a secure room at the Pentagon. Captain Peter Grayson and NSA crypto analyst Heather Wallace sat across from him. The room was specially designed to accommodate Varix biology while also containing any potential threats. "Why should we trust you?" Grayson asked bluntly. You led the initial reconnaissance mission against Earth. Zexatora's four eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture of honesty in his culture. Because the Confederation is fracturing, your demonstration created panic among our leadership and hope among our subjugated worlds. I bring data cores containing Varric's military positions, communication protocols, and intelligence on 17 other spacefaring civilizations. Heather leaned forward. Including information on who might be considering Earth as a target? Yes. You are not the only ones listening to galactic communications, but you are new players. Many eyes have turned toward Earth. Some see potential allies. Others see threats to be eliminated before you grow too powerful. Back at Harmony Station, Ambassador Stone faced High Emissary Krelvar in another tense meeting. The Varric's diplomats' color had shifted to a darker hue, indicating stress. The defection of former Commander Zexatora is a Varric's internal matter, Krelvar began. His return would be considered a gesture of good faith. Stone kept his expression neutral. Commander, Zexatora has requested asylum under our laws. We are reviewing his case. He possesses sensitive information. Information he has already shared, Stone interrupted, including details about discussions within the Varric's leadership regarding potential preemptive strikes against Earth, despite our ongoing diplomatic talks. Krelvar's color shifted again, darker still. He had not expected humans to be so direct. Those discussions were theoretical. The Confederation remains committed to peaceful resolution. We hope that is true, Stone replied. But we are also aware that 3 Varric's battle groups have moved to positions just beyond your jump points, hardly the positioning of a purely peaceful neighbor. The revelation that Earth knew about their fleet movements clearly shocked Krelvar. What he didn't know was that Zexatora had provided access codes to the Varric's military communication network. In the following days, Earth continued to process the influx of information. Heather Wallace worked tirelessly with Zexatora, decoding transmissions that revealed a complex web of alliances and rivalries among nearby civilizations. The Andromeda Compact is primarily interested in trade, Zexatora explained as they mapped political relationships. They avoid conflicts but control essential trade routes. The Nexus consciousness is ancient and powerful but reclusive. They observe but rarely interfere. And these? Heather pointed to symbols representing systems in the galactic core. Those you should fear, Zexatora said quietly. The dominion of 7 suns, they make the Varric's look peaceful. They have been expanding for millennia, consuming all in their path. If they learn of your quantum technology. He didn't need to finish. The implications were clear. Earth's warning shot had stopped the Varric's, but it had also announced humanity's presence to powers far more dangerous than they could imagine. 5 years passed since Earth's warning shot changed the galaxy. The blue planet had transformed in ways few could have imagined. Knowledge of alien life and technology had accelerated human innovation at an unprecedented rate. What began as defensive preparations evolved into a renaissance of scientific advancement. Admiral Peter Grayson stood on the observation deck of the newly completed orbital shipyard. Below him, Earth glowed blue and green against the blackness of space. Above, the massive form of the ESDC horizon took shape as construction drones swarmed around its hull. "Impressive, isn't she?" asked William Daniels, who would soon captain the vessel. "Our first true long-range explorer." Grayson nodded. "When I joined the Navy, I never imagined I'd see something like this. A ship capable of reaching other star systems in days instead of centuries. The horizon represented humanity's new direction. Not just defenders of Earth, but explorers ready to establish diplomatic relations with civilizations beyond the immediate stellar neighborhood. Its design incorporated the best of human ingenuity and adapted alien technology. "The quantum drive is performing beyond expectations in tests," Daniels said. "We should be ready for our maiden voyage next month." On the surface, in what had once been the Pentagon but was now the headquarters of the International Space Defense Coalition, General Diana Ross reviewed the latest intelligence reports. Now serving as Earth's Defense Secretary, she had overseen the integration of military forces from 39 nations into a unified command. The Varix delegation has arrived for the treaty signing, her assistant informed her. Ross straightened her uniform. Let's not keep them waiting. The Varix Confederation had changed dramatically as well, significantly weakened by internal conflicts after their failed plans for Earth. They had been forced to grant independence to 3 of their subject species. What remained was a smaller but more stable alliance, now seeking formal peace with the humans they had once planned to conquer. In the Grand Conference Hall, Ambassador Eric Stone waited alongside representatives from Earth's leading nations. The room fell silent as the Varix delegation entered, led by their new High Counselor Jex Mora. Ambassador Stone, Jex Mora greeted, extending 2 of his 4 limbs in the formal Varix gesture of peaceful intent. My people look forward to beginning this new chapter in our relationship. Stone returned the gesture perfectly. As do we, High Counselor. The treaty before us establishes not just peace, but the framework for scientific and cultural exchange that will benefit both our civilizations. The document they would sign included technology exchange agreements and mutual defense provisions against more aggressive species. Both sides knew the threats lurking in the galaxy made cooperation more valuable than conflict. Meanwhile, at the Extraterrestrial Studies Institute, Dr. Samantha Park presented her findings to a group of international leaders and scientists. The wall display showed maps of known civilizations and their relationships. The galaxy is not the peaceful place we once imagined, she explained. Many species evolved through conquest rather than cooperation. Earth's unique development path, forced to advance rapidly due to the crashed alien ship, has positioned us differently. Dr. Ryan Johnson continued the presentation. Most species follow predictable technological progression. We didn't. We jumped ahead in quantum physics while still developing in other areas. This makes our approach to innovation and warfare unlike anything the galaxy has seen before. In orbit, the reconstructed International Space Station had been expanded to 10 times its original size. Now a diplomatic hub, it hosted representatives from 12 alien civilizations who had come to observe the Earth-Varix Treaty signing. Heather Wallace showed former Commander Zexatora, now Earth's advisor on galactic affairs, to his quarters aboard the station. After 5 years on Earth, he had become an essential bridge between humans and the wider galactic community. More observers arrive daily, she noted. The Andromeda Compact has sent trade representatives. Even the Nexus Consciousness has established an embassy. Zextora's skin rippled with amusement. When I first scanned your planet, I thought you were technological infants. Now the oldest civilizations in the sector seek your friendship. Not all of them, Heather reminded him. The Dominion of Seven Suns has increased patrols along their borders. They see us as a potential threat. As they should, Zexatora replied. They have conquered hundreds of worlds through force. Earth represents something they don't understand. A world that prepared for war so effectively, it achieved peace. The treaty signing ceremony was broadcast globally and transmitted across known space via quantum communication relays. General Ross, representing Earth's unified defense forces, addressed the assembled dignitaries and the billions watching. We never wanted war, she began. We prepared for it because history taught us the price of complacency. Today, we extend our hand in peace, but remember our warning. Earth is not a prize to be claimed or a resource to be exploited. We are not your conquest. We are your consequence. The words sent ripples through the gathered alien representatives. In the decades that followed, Ross's speech would be studied in diplomatic academies across the galaxy. The phrase, "We are not your conquest. We are your consequence," became shorthand for the surprising strength of seemingly vulnerable opponents. 1 month later, the ESDC Horizon departed Earth on its maiden voyage. Captain William Daniels stood on the bridge as the quantum drive engaged, stars blurring around them. Set course for the Andromeda Compact core worlds, he ordered. Let's introduce ourselves properly. Lieutenant Olivia Martinez, now the ship's executive officer, couldn't help but smile. Who would have thought? 5 years ago, we were preparing to defend against invasion. Now we're making first contact on our terms. That's humanity's greatest strength, Daniels replied. We adapt. We transform challenges into opportunities. As the Horizon ventured into deep space, other events continued to reshape the galaxy. 3 minor civilizations, inspired by Earth's stance against the Variks, formed their own defensive alliance. The Variks Confederation, once expansionist conquerors, began internal reforms patterned after Earth's democratic systems, and on distant worlds when ambitious generals and expansionist leaders proposed invading seemingly primitive planets, their advisors would whisper warnings about Earth and the species that had reshaped a moon into a perfect cube just to make a point. In the command center beneath the Swiss Alps, a monument was erected to commemorate the moment humanity announced itself to the stars. It was simple, a perfect cube of polished stone with a single inscription. They set their sights on Earth, but humanity's warning shook the galaxy. The cube became a symbol for future generations, a reminder that humans had faced their first interstellar threat not with fear but with preparation, ingenuity, and a demonstration of power so profound it changed the course of galactic history. Earth was no longer alone, no longer vulnerable, and no longer unknown. Humanity had stepped onto the galactic stage not as conquered, but as consequential, and the galaxy would never be the same. They conquered the galaxy until a human warship made its appearance. Part 1. The stars glittered coldly against the black of space. In the command center of the massive Drexian flagship, General Vox stood with his 4 arms crossed behind his back. His skin was blue-gray and hard like armor. His yellow eyes looked out at the burning planet below. "Another world falls to the Drexian Empire," he said. His voice was deep and rumbled like distant thunder. The planet Nexus 7 had fought well, but, like all others before it, it had lost. For 200 years, the Drexians had moved across the stars, taking planet after planet. No one could stop them. Their ships were bigger and stronger than any others. Their weapons could cut through any shield. Their soldiers feared nothing. Vox turned to his second-in-command, Officer Zrel. "How many ships did we lose?" "None, General," Zrel answered. She was smaller than Vox, but just as fierce. Her eyes glowed with pride. "They managed to damage 2 of our cruisers, but nothing serious." Vox nodded. "The same story every time. They fight, they lose." He walked to the large map showing the galaxy. Many stars glowed red, showing planets the Drexians now controlled. "Soon the entire galaxy will be ours." "There is one section we haven't touched yet," Zrel said, pointing to a small area on the edge of the map. "The Sol system," Vox said. "A small star with a few planets. Nothing special." "Our scouts report the 3rd planet has life," Zrel said. "They call themselves humans," Vox laughed. "Humans? We have reports on them. They fight among themselves. Their technology is weak. Their weapons are toys compared to ours." "True," Zrel agreed. "But some reports say they are different." "Different?" Vox raised an eyebrow ridge. "Different how?" "They adapt quickly. They learn from their mistakes, and they never give up, even when they should." Vox waved a hand. "All species say that. About themselves, all of them fail in the end." He looked at the map again. "But you're right. It's time we paid these humans a visit. Send a scout ship to this Sol system. Let's see what these humans are doing." 5 light years away, on the blue-green planet called Earth, Susan Miller walked into the underground base hidden beneath the Rocky Mountains. She showed her ID to the guards and stepped into the elevator. The doors closed and the elevator dropped deep into the mountain. When the doors opened again, she stepped into a busy control room. People sat at computer screens, monitoring space. Large maps showed the positions of stars and planets and the red dots that showed where the Drexians were. "Admiral Miller," a young officer called out. "You need to see this." Susan walked over to his screen. "What is it, Paul?" "We've detected a Drexian scout ship," Paul said. "It just entered the outer part of our solar system." Susan's face grew serious. They had known this day would come. For 50 years, humans had watched the Drexians move across space, conquering everything in their path. They had stayed hidden, hoping to buy time. How long do we have? She asked. At their current speed, 3 days before they reach Earth, Paul answered. Susan nodded. Call the President and the Joint Chiefs. Code red. She turned and walked quickly to another part of the base, going through 3 security doors until she reached a special elevator. She placed her hand on a scanner, then looked into a light that checked her eyes. Admiral Susan Miller, Authorization Alpha 1. The elevator doors opened and she descended even deeper into the mountain. When she stepped out, she was in a massive underground hangar, and there, being worked on by hundreds of engineers and technicians, was humanity's secret, the USS Defender. For 30 years, humans had been building this ship in total secrecy. It was unlike anything ever seen before. The design came from the best minds on Earth working together with one goal: to create a ship that could fight the Drexians. The ship was huge, over a mile long. Its surface was dark gray and seemed to absorb light. Strange patterns covered its hull, technology that even most humans didn't understand. Walking toward her was a tall man with gray hair. He smiled when he saw her. John, Susan said. Is she ready? John Mason was the chief engineer of the project. He wiped his hands on a cloth. As ready as she'll ever be. We were hoping for another month of testing, but we don't have a month. Susan finished for him. The Drexians are coming. John's smile faded. How many? Just a scout ship for now, but you know what comes next. John nodded. After the scouts, always came the warships. It was how the Drexians worked. They sent scouts to check a system, then they sent their war fleet to take it. How does the crew look? Susan asked as they walked toward the ship. The best we have, John said. 500 of Earth's finest, all trained on the simulator, but none have actually flown her yet. They reached the main entrance to the ship. Susan looked up at its massive hull rising above them. Will it be enough? She asked quietly. John followed her gaze. The Defender has technology the Drexians have never seen. Energy shields stronger than anything they've faced. Weapons that can pierce their armor, and a few surprises they won't expect. But will it be enough? Susan asked again. John didn't answer for a moment. It has to be, he finally said. Because it's all we've got. Susan's phone buzzed. She checked it and turned to John. The President is calling an emergency meeting. The scout ship will be visible to public telescopes soon. We can't keep this secret much longer. What will you tell them? John asked. The truth, Susan said. That the most dangerous empire in the galaxy is coming to Earth, and that we've been preparing for this day for a long time. She looked once more at the Defender. In 2 days she would be on that ship, leading it into battle against an enemy that had never lost a war. Prepare for launch, she told John. As soon as the President gives the order, we need to move. John saluted. Yes, Admiral. As Susan walked back to the elevator, she thought about what waited out there in space. The Drexians thought they knew everything about humans. They thought Earth would be an easy target like all the others. They were wrong. The Drexians had conquered 100 worlds. But they had never met humans before. And humans didn't plan to become just another conquered planet. The Drexians were about to learn that the hard way. In space, the Drexian scout ship moved closer to Earth, its sensors scanning the blue planet. It detected cities, basic satellites, and primitive space stations. Nothing that concerned them. Nothing that could stop a Drexian fleet. What they didn't detect was the advanced base on the dark side of the moon, or the weapons platforms hidden in the asteroid belt, or the Defender waiting deep inside a mountain. The humans were ready, and the galaxy was about to change forever. They conquered the galaxy until a human warship made its appearance. Part 2. President Richard Collins stood at the head of the long table in the underground war room. His face was grim as he looked at the people gathered there. These were the leaders of Earth's nations and military forces. All of them knew what was coming. The Drexian scout ship has entered our solar system, he said. It will reach Earth in less than 48 hours. We must decide now what to do. General Winters, head of the Global Defense Force, stood up. Mr. President, I recommend we activate the Defender immediately. Admiral Miller's team is ready. An older man with thick glasses shook his head. We should try to talk to them first. Maybe they come in peace. Susan Miller, who sat near the president, spoke up. Dr. Evans, with all respect, the Drexians have never come in peace. We've watched them for 50 years. They've destroyed or enslaved every civilization they've met. But they don't know we've been watching, Dr. Evans argued. They might treat us differently. Or they might destroy us like all the others, General Winters said. We can't take that chance. President Collins raised his hand for quiet. We've prepared for this day for half a century. Our ancestors saw the Drexian threat and began building our defenses in secret. Now we must use them. He turned to Susan. Admiral Miller, the Defender is yours. Your mission is to intercept the scout ship before it can report back to the Drexian fleet. Susan stood and saluted. Yes, sir. What about our other defenses? Asked a woman in a blue uniform. All moon bases are on high alert, Admiral Chen, President Collins answered. And the asteroid belt weapons are ready. But the Defender is our best hope. It has technology the Drexians have never seen. And if it fails? Dr. Evans asked quietly. The room fell silent. Everyone knew what that would mean. Then we fight with everything we have, President Collins said. But the Defender won't fail, not with Admiral Miller in command. 2 hours later, Susan stood in the hangar looking up at the massive ship. Crew members were boarding, carrying equipment and supplies. The ship hummed with power as its systems came online. Admiral on deck, someone called, and everyone stood at attention. At ease, Susan said. She walked to where John Mason was checking a control panel. How does she look, John? All systems are green, he replied. The new shield technology is stable. Weapons are charged. He lowered his voice. But Susan, we've never actually fired the main cannon outside of simulations. We don't know for sure what will happen. We're about to find out, she said. She looked around at the busy crew. Is everyone aboard? Almost. We're just waiting. For me, said a voice behind them. They turned to see a tall man with dark skin and bright, intelligent eyes. Sorry I'm late. I was double-checking the translations. Dr. Ben Harris, Susan said with a smile, our xenolinguist and Drexian expert. Ben nodded. Such as I am. No human has ever spoken to a Drexian, but I've studied all the communications we've intercepted. I think I can talk to them. Let's hope they want to talk back, John said. A young officer ran up to them. Admiral, the President is on the line for you. Susan took the secure phone. Yes, Mr. President. I understand. Yes, sir. She hung up and turned to her team. The Drexian scout ship has changed course. It's heading directly for Earth, moving faster than we expected. We need to launch now. Alarms began to sound throughout the base. Red lights flashed as huge doors began to open in the mountain above them. All crew to stations, Susan ordered. Prepare for immediate launch. The inside of the Defender was a marvel of technology. The bridge was spacious, with workstations arranged in a circle around the captain's chair. Screens showed views of space and displayed information about the ship's systems. Susan sat in the captain's chair. John took the engineering station and Ben sat at communications. Other crew members took their places. All stations report, Susan ordered. Engineering ready. Weapons ready. Navigation ready. Communications ready. Life support ready. Shields ready. Susan nodded. The Drexian scout ship is heading toward Earth. Our job is to intercept it before it can send a report back to its fleet. This is what we've trained for. This is what the Defender was built for. She pressed a button on her chair. All hands. Prepare for launch. Outside, the mountain's peak split open, revealing a massive launch tube. The Defender rose on powerful anti-gravity engines, hovering for a moment before shooting upward into the sky. The sound was deafening, and people for miles around looked up in wonder at the strange object rising into the clouds. In space, the Drexian scout ship detected the launch. Inside, the Drexian commander, a junior officer named Krell, watched with surprise as his sensors showed a large vessel rising from the planet's surface. Impossible, he said. The humans don't have this level of technology. His second-in-command checked the readings. The ship is big, almost as big as our cruisers, but it can't be a threat. These primitives couldn't build anything that could harm us. Krell wasn't so sure. Change course to intercept. I want to see this human ship up close before we report back. The Defender broke through Earth's atmosphere and entered space. The stars spread out before them, cold and clear without the distortion of air. We've cleared the atmosphere, the navigation officer reported. Setting course to intercept the Drexian scout. Time to intercept? Susan asked. 20 minutes at current speed. Susan nodded. Take us to battle stations, activate stealth systems. Around the ship, special panels began to shift. The Defender seemed to fade, becoming harder to see against the blackness of space. Stealth systems active, John reported. They won't see us coming until we're right on top of them. Ben looked up from his console. I'm picking up Drexian communications. They've spotted us launching, but they lost us when we activated stealth. Susan smiled. Good. Let's keep it that way. She turned to the weapons officer. Arm disruptors, but hold fire. I want to see what they do first. The Defender moved silently through space, its advanced engines leaving no heat trail to follow. On Earth, people gathered around televisions and computers watching the news. The secret was out now. Humans weren't alone in the universe, and they were about to face their first alien encounter. In the White House, President Collins watched a secure feed from the Defender. Godspeed, Admiral Miller, he whispered. The fate of our world is in your hands. The Drexian scout ship searched space, its sensors sweeping back and forth. They knew the human ship had launched, but now they couldn't find it. For the first time, a Drexian commander felt something unfamiliar. Doubt. The Defender closed in, invisible and silent. The first battle between humans and Drexians was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. They conquered the galaxy until a human warship made its appearance. Part 3. The bridge of the Defender was quiet. Every crew member watched their screens as the ship moved closer to the Drexian scout. Thanks to the stealth technology, the alien ship still hadn't spotted them. Range to target 5,000 miles, the navigation officer reported. Susan nodded. Hold position here, let's see what they do. On the main screen, they could see the Drexian scout ship clearly now. It was smaller than the Defender, but still impressive. Its hull was a strange blue-green metal that seemed to pulse slightly like it was alive. Their ship is partly organic, Ben said, studying his readings. The Drexians grow their ships as much as build them. Can they see us yet? Susan asked. John checked his instruments. No, our stealth field is holding. But if we get much closer, or power up weapons, they might detect us. Susan considered her options. The Defender's mission was to stop the scout from reporting back to the Drexian fleet. They could destroy it easily with their main weapons, but that would mean killing the aliens without even trying to communicate. Dr. Harris, she said, can you open a channel to them? Let's see if they'll talk. Ben nodded. I can try, Admiral, but remember, no human has ever spoken directly to a Drexian before. There's a first time for everything, Susan said. Open the channel, but keep our location hidden. Ben worked at his console, sending a signal to the Drexian ship. Channel, open. Susan took a deep breath. This is Admiral Susan Miller of the Earthship Defender. We know who you are and why you're here. We wish to speak with you before any hostile action is taken. For a long moment, there was no response. Then the main screen flickered and they saw the inside of the Drexian ship. Standing there was Commander Krell. His blue-gray skin and forearms made him look alien, but his yellow eyes showed intelligence. This is Commander Krell of the Drexian Empire, he said in a strange, clicking voice that the ship's computers translated. How are you hiding from our sensors, human? And how do you know of us? We've been watching the Drexian Empire for 50 years, Susan replied. We know what you've done to other worlds. Krell's eyes narrowed. Impossible. Your species is primitive. You have barely reached your own moon. That's what we wanted you to think, Susan said. We kept our true technology hidden while we prepared. Prepared? For what? Krell asked. To defend ourselves. We've seen how the Drexians treat other civilizations. We don't intend to be conquered. Krell made a sound that might have been laughter. One ship cannot stop the Drexian Empire. When I report back, they will send 100 warships to your world. That's why we can't let you report back, Susan said calmly. The alien's expression changed as he understood. You plan to destroy us. We would prefer not to, Susan said. We're giving you a choice. You can turn around and leave our solar system. Tell your leaders that Earth is not worth the trouble. Now Krell really did laugh. You think I would lie to protect your planet? The punishment would be severe. Then don't go back at all, Susan suggested. There are places in the galaxy where even the Drexians don't go. We could help you get there. For a moment, Krell seemed to consider this. Then his face hardened. No Drexian has ever deserted their post. I will complete my mission. He turned to someone off-screen and gave an order. They're powering up weapons, John shouted. Raise shields, Susan ordered. Drop stealth and bring us to attack position. The Defender shimmered into view as its stealth field dropped. The ship's shields came online, surrounding it with a faint blue glow. On the Drexian ship, Krell stared in shock. The human vessel was much larger than he had expected, and now his sensors could read its power levels. Impossible, he muttered. They shouldn't have this technology. His weapons officer looked frightened. Sir, their power readings are higher than our warships. This is no primitive vessel. Krell hesitated. He had expected an easy mission, scanning a backward planet before the invasion fleet arrived. Now he faced a ship that might be more powerful than his own. Fire warning shots, he ordered. Show them our strength. The Drexian ship fired energy beams that flashed across space toward the Defender. They hit the shields and fizzled out without causing any damage. Shields holding at 100%, John reported with a smile. Their weapons can't touch us. The crew of the Defender cheered. For years they had wondered if their new technology would really work against Drexian weapons. Now they knew it did. Susan reopened the communication channel. As you can see, Commander Krell, we are not as primitive as you thought. I ask again, leave our system in peace. Krell looked angry now. This changes nothing. I will report what I have found, and the Empire will send more ships. He pressed buttons on his control panel. I am transmitting now. Block that transmission, Susan ordered. Ben worked quickly at his station. Blocking, but they're using a quantum channel. I can slow it down but not stop it completely. Susan made her decision. Target their communications array only. Fire. Disruptors. The weapons officer pressed a button. A beam of white light shot from the Defender and hit the Drexian ship precisely where its communications equipment was located. The alien ship shuddered. Direct hit, the weapons officer reported. Their communications are down. Now target their engines, Susan ordered. Disable them, but try not to destroy the ship. More beams fired from the Defender, hitting the Drexian ship's propulsion systems. The alien vessel began to drift in space. Its engines dark. They're disabled, John said. They can't run and they can't call for help. Susan nodded. Good. Now, let's see if they're ready to talk. She reopened the channel to see a very different Commander Krell. The alien looked shocked and afraid. How? He demanded. How did your weapons penetrate our shields? No one has ever done that before. Earth has many surprises, Commander, Susan said. Now, we have two options. We can destroy your ship completely, or you can surrender and become our prisoner. Krell's alien face showed his struggle. No Drexian commander had ever surrendered in the Empire's long history of conquest. But no Drexian had ever faced technology like this before. He began, but was interrupted by a loud alarm on his ship. What is happening? His second-in-command looked panicked. The ship is activating its self-destruct sequence. It must have been damaged by their weapons. Susan heard this and immediately turned to her crew. Get them out of there. Activate the transfer beam. The crew rushed to obey, working to lock onto the Drexians with their experimental transport technology. As the alien ship began to break apart, beams of light connected the two vessels. The fate of the first encounter between humans and Drexians hung in the balance as space itself seemed to hold its breath. They conquered the galaxy, until a human warship made its appearance. Part 4. Bright light filled the transport room of the Defender as the transfer beam activated. Energy swirled and sparked, forming shapes that slowly became solid. When the light faded, 6 Drexians stood on the platform, looking confused and frightened. Commander Krell was in front, his yellow eyes wide with shock. "Transfer complete," said the transport operator. "All 6 Drexians from the scout ship recovered." Susan's voice came over the speaker. "Good work. Security teams escort our guests to the holding area." Armed human guards surrounded the aliens. The Drexians were taller than humans, with 4 arms and blue-gray skin that looked like armor. They seemed stunned by what had happened. "What did you do?" Krell demanded. "How did you pull us from our ship?" "We saved your lives," a guard answered. "Your ship was self-destructing." As if to prove this point, a flash of light appeared on the main view screen as the Drexian scout ship exploded in space. On the bridge, Susan watched the explosion with mixed feelings. They had stopped the scout from reporting back to the Drexian fleet. That was good, but they had also revealed Earth's advanced technology. The element of surprise was gone. "Send a message to Earth," she ordered. "Tell them we've neutralized the Drexian scout, but that we've taken prisoners. Ask for instructions." Ben nodded and sent the message. Then he turned to Susan with a serious face. "Admiral, there's something you should know. Before their ship exploded, a small portion of their transmission got through. It wasn't complete, but the Drexians now know something is happening at Earth." Susan frowned. This changed things. "How long before they send more ships to investigate?" "Based on what we know of their patrol patterns, maybe 3 days," Ben said. 4 at most. Susan stood up. "Then we need to learn everything we can from our prisoners before they arrive." She headed for the elevator. "John, you have the bridge. I'm going to speak with our guests." In the holding area, the 6 Drexians had been placed in a large room, with force fields instead of bars. They could see out but couldn't pass through the energy barrier. Commander Krell paced back and forth while the others sat quietly. When Susan arrived, Krell stopped pacing. "Are you the leader of this ship?" he asked. "I am Admiral Susan Miller, commander of the Defender," she replied. "And you are in a difficult situation, Commander Krell." "You will be the one in a difficult situation when our fleet arrives," Krell said. "They will destroy your world for this insult." Susan smiled slightly. "That's what I want to talk to you about. We know more about the Drexian Empire than you think. We've studied your language, your technology, your battle tactics. We've watched as you conquered world after world." "Then you should be afraid," Krell said. "We're not afraid," Susan replied, "because we've been preparing. The Defender isn't our only ship. It's just the first one we've revealed." This was a lie. But Susan needed the Drexians to believe Earth was stronger than it actually was. The Defender was indeed their only advanced ship, but more were being built. Krell's confidence seemed to waver. "You're lying. No species could hide such technology from our scouts." "Yet here we are," Susan said. She pressed a button, and a screen on the wall showed images of Earth's defenses, the moon base, the asteroid belt weapons, and more ships like the Defender. These images were mostly computer simulations, but they looked real. "Even if you destroy 1 ship or 10 or 100, we will fight," Susan continued. "And unlike other species you've conquered, we've had time to prepare. We've studied your weaknesses." "Drexians have no weaknesses," said one of the other aliens, speaking for the first time. "Everyone has weaknesses," Susan said. "Yours is that you believe you're invincible. You've never lost a battle, so you think you can't lose. That makes you careless." Krell moved closer to the force field. "What do you want, human? Why are we here instead of dead?" "Because I believe there's a better way than war," Susan said. "The Drexian Empire has conquered half the galaxy. But at what cost? How many civilizations have you destroyed? How many species have you wiped out? The strong rule the weak," Krell said. "That is the way of the universe." "It doesn't have to be," Susan countered. Humans have learned that cooperation can be stronger than conquest. Different species working together can achieve more than one ruling over the others. Krell laughed. Pretty words, but they won't stop. Our fleet when it comes. Maybe not, Susan admitted, but I'm hoping you might. This surprised the Drexian commander. Me? How could I stop the fleet? By telling them the truth. That Earth isn't worth attacking. That we have defenses that could cost the Empire dearly. That there are better ways than war. Krell stared at her. You want me to betray my empire? That would be treason. I want you to save lives, both human and Drexian, Susan said. Is that really treason? Before Krell could answer, an alarm sounded. Susan's communicator beeped. Admiral, we're detecting a spatial distortion, John's voice reported. Something big is coming through hyperspace. Susan's heart sank. The Drexian fleet? Already? No, John said. It's something else. Something our sensors can't identify. Susan looked at Krell, who seemed just as confused. I need to get to the bridge, she told him. Think about what I said. This may be our last chance to avoid a war that will cost millions of lives. She hurried back to the bridge where the crew was watching the main screen with shocked expressions. In space before them, a massive hole seemed to be opening, glowing with strange energy. What is it? Susan asked. Some kind of wormhole. John answered. But it's not natural and it's not Drexian technology either. As they watched, a ship emerged from the wormhole. It was unlike anything they had ever seen, neither human nor Drexian design. It was enormous, dwarfing even the Defender, and seemed to be made of crystal and light. We're being hailed, Ben reported, sounding shocked. The signal is coming from that ship, but it's using Earth frequencies. How could they know those? Open a channel, Susan ordered. The screen changed to show the interior of the alien vessel. Standing there was a being that looked almost human, but with skin that shimmered like pearl and eyes that glowed with inner light. Greetings, humans of the Defender, the being said in perfect English. I am Ambassador Lyra of the Galactic Alliance. We've been watching your encounter with the Drexians with great interest. Susan stared in amazement. The Galactic Alliance? We've never heard of you. We've kept ourselves hidden much as you hid from the Drexians, Lyra explained. But now that you've revealed yourselves, it's time we did the same. Your species has proven itself worthy of contact. By fighting the Drexians? Susan asked. No, Lyra said with a smile. By offering them peace instead of destruction when you had the advantage. That showed wisdom we haven't seen in a long time. She looked around at the human crew. You face a difficult challenge. The Drexian fleet is coming, and your world is in danger. We would like to help, if you'll allow it. Susan hardly knew what to say. In one day, humanity had gone from thinking they faced the Drexian Empire alone to meeting a completely new alien civilization. Why would you help us? She asked. Because the galaxy needs balance, Lyra said. The Drexians have upset that balance with their conquests. We believe your species might help restore it. She paused. Will you come aboard our ship to discuss an alliance? You may bring Commander Krell as well. He should be part of this conversation. Susan looked at her crew, who nodded eagerly. We accept your invitation, Ambassador. As she went to get Krell, Susan wondered what this would mean for Earth and for the galaxy. Things were happening faster than anyone had expected. But perhaps that was a good thing. Perhaps this was humanity's chance to make a difference. Beyond their own world, the game had changed completely, and it was just beginning. They conquered the galaxy until a human warship made its appearance. Part 5, Susan stood in the transport room with Commander Krell beside her. The Drexian looked nervous, his 4 hands opening and closing. You expect me to go with you to this alien ship? He asked. I think it's our best chance to avoid a war, Susan replied. Don't you want to save Drexian lives as well as human ones? Krell was quiet for a moment. My duty is to the Empire. And what if the Empire is making a mistake? Susan asked. What if there's a better path? Before Krell could answer, the transport beam activated. Light surrounded them, and when it faded, they were standing in a large room aboard the Galactic Alliance ship. The walls seemed to be made of crystal that glowed with soft light. The air smelled fresh, like a forest after rain. Ambassador Lyra waited for them. Up close, she looked even more unusual. Her skin had a pearl-like shine, and her eyes changed color as she moved. "Welcome aboard the Harmony," she said. "Please, follow me." She led them through corridors where other aliens worked. Susan saw beings of all shapes and sizes. Some looked almost human, while others were completely different. Floating clouds of light, tall plant-like creatures, small furry beings with 6 eyes. "You have many different species working together," Susan noted. "The Alliance includes over 300 species," Lyra explained. "Each brings unique skills and perspectives." "Impossible," Krell muttered. "Different species cannot work together effectively. The strong must lead, and the weak must follow." "That's what the Drexian Empire believes," Lyra said. "But the Alliance has proved otherwise. Together we've built something greater than any one species could alone." They entered a large room with a round table. Several other aliens sat waiting. Lyra introduced them, representatives from different worlds in the Alliance. Susan greeted each one while Krell stood stiffly, clearly uncomfortable. "Please sit," Lyra said. "We have much to discuss." As they sat, a 3-dimensional image appeared above the table, showing the galaxy. Several areas glowed blue, while a large section glowed red. "The blue areas show Alliance territory," Lyra explained. "The red shows the Drexian Empire. As you can see, they control nearly half the galaxy." "And what are the white areas?" Susan asked, pointing to unmarked sections. "Independent worlds or primitive species not yet ready for contact," Lyra said. "Like Earth was until today." Krell studied the map. "This cannot be accurate. The Empire has scouts throughout the galaxy. We would have detected your Alliance." "Just as you detected Earth's true technology?" Lyra asked with a small smile. "We have ways of hiding. We've been watching the Empire's expansion for centuries, helping worlds that wish to resist without revealing ourselves." "Why reveal yourselves now?" Susan asked. "Because of you, Admiral Miller," Lyra said. "Humans have shown remarkable potential. In a short time, you developed technology that can challenge the Drexians. And more importantly, when you had the advantage, you chose diplomacy over destruction." She looked at Krell. "That's rare in our experience." A tall alien with green skin spoke next. "The Drexian fleet is already on its way to Earth. They will arrive in 3 days. We don't have much time to decide what to do." Susan looked concerned. "How many ships?" 20 warships, the green alien said. "Enough to destroy your planet." "My people will fight," Susan said firmly. "But we only have one ship like the Defender. We're building more, but they won't be ready in time." "The Alliance could help defend Earth," Lyra offered. "But that would mean open war with the Drexian Empire. Millions would die on both sides." "There is another option," said a small bird-like alien. "The Drexians might listen to one of their own." All eyes turned to Krell, who looked surprised. "Me? The Empire would never listen to a junior commander who was captured." "Not alone," Lyra agreed. "But what if you returned with proof that the Drexian Empire is not the strongest force in the galaxy? What if you showed them that conquest is not the only path?" "They would call me a traitor," Krell said. "Or a hero who saved countless Drexian lives," Susan suggested. "Your people have conquered because they never met anyone stronger. Now they have. Wouldn't a wise leader choose a different path when the old one leads to destruction?" Krell was quiet, thinking. Finally, he said, "The Empire has existed for 1,000 years. Change will not come easily." "Few important things do," Lyra said. "But it must start somewhere. Why not with you?" The discussion continued for hours. They planned and argued and worked together. Susan was impressed by the Alliance members. They were different from each other and from humans, yet they worked together smoothly. By the end, they had a plan. The Alliance would send ships to Earth to help defend it if needed. But first, they would try Krell's idea. 2 days later, the Drexian fleet arrived near Earth's orbit. 20 massive warships, each bigger than the Defender, moved into attack formation. On the flagship, General Vox stood on the bridge, looking at the blue planet on the screen. "Begin the attack sequence," he ordered. "Show these humans the price of defiance." "Sir," his second-in-command said. "We're receiving a transmission. It's Commander Krell." Vox looked surprised. "Impossible. Krell's scout ship was destroyed." "Nevertheless, it's him, sir. And he's not alone." The screen changed to show Krell standing on the bridge of a ship. Behind him were Susan Miller, Ambassador Lyra, and several other Alliance members. "General Vox," Krell said formally. "I bring important information for my mission." "Explain yourself, Commander," Vox demanded. "Why are you with these aliens?" "Because I've learned something that changes everything," Krell replied. "The Drexian Empire is not the strongest power in the galaxy. The humans alone have technology that can match ours, and they have allies." The view on the screen widened to show space outside Krell's ship. There, surrounding the Drexian fleet, were hundreds of Alliance vessels that had appeared from hidden positions. They had been cloaked, invisible until now. Vox's yellow eyes widened. His sensors confirmed it. They were completely surrounded by ships more advanced than their own. "This is Ambassador Lyra of the Galactic Alliance," Lyra said, stepping forward. "We offer the Drexian Empire a choice. Continue on the path of conquest and face a war you cannot win, or join us as equals in an alliance that will benefit all." "The Empire does not surrender," Vox said, but his voice lacked conviction. "This isn't surrender," Susan said. "It's evolution. The Drexians have been the strongest for so long you've forgotten there are other kinds of strength. The strength that comes from cooperation, from diversity, from peace." Krell looked directly at his former commander. "I've seen it, General. Different species working together, creating things we never imagined. There is a better way than endless war." For a long moment, General Vox was silent. Then he looked at the hundreds of ships surrounding his fleet, at the determined faces of the Alliance members, at the single human who had started it all. "The High Council will need to discuss this proposal," he said finally. Susan smiled. It wasn't a complete victory, but it was a beginning. Humans had changed the galaxy in ways no one expected, not by conquering, but by bringing together those who had been apart. As the Drexian fleet retreated and the Alliance ships moved into Earth orbit, Susan looked out at the stars. The universe was larger and more wonderful than humans had